The exact same meal can affect your body differently depending on how you slept the night before. Same food, different metabolic response. Most people have never heard that before. A patient came in to see me recently because he wanted to talk about peptides. He was exhausted, his workouts weren't giving him the same results they used to. He was gaining weight despite exercising regularly and eating healthy. He wanted more energy, better recovery, and to feel like his body was responding to his efforts the way they used to. And after doing a lot of research, he thought peptides were probably the next step. Now, I prescribe peptides regularly in my practice, and they can be a really helpful tool for the right person at the right time. But before we talked about peptides, I actually wanted to talk about his sleep. And he looked a little surprised because sleep wasn't what he came in to discuss. He came in wanting to talk about what to add, not what might be quietly making everything harder. He was sleeping about 6 hours most nights, sometimes less, waking up frequently, never really feeling fully rested. And honestly, that changed the entire conversation because once I knew that, the picture started to make a lot more sense. The weight gain made more sense. The poor recovery made more sense. Even the feeling that his body wasn't responding the way it used to made more sense. I'm Dr. Kelly Brown, a board-certified family medicine physician and the founder of Ember, a longevity-focused concierge practice in Arizona. And this is one of the reasons I care so much about sleep. Because when someone tells me they're exhausted, they're gaining weight despite working out, struggling with recovery, or wondering whether peptides or hormones are the next step, I don't just want to know what they're taking. I want to understand what might be getting in the way. Most people think that insulin resistance is something that happens slowly over time, and for some people, it does. But poor sleep can change the way your body handles food much faster than people often realize. In just a matter of days, sleep deprivation can measurably reduce insulin sensitivity, which means that the same meal that felt fine last week may hit your body differently after several nights of poor sleep. Your blood sugar may be less stable, your cravings may be stronger, and your energy may be more unpredictable. And if you've ever had one of those stretches where you feel like you're doing a lot of the things right, but your body still feels off, that may be part of the reason. You see, sleep affects cortisol quickly too. Most people think of cortisol as a stress hormone, and it is, but even one night of poor sleep can raise your cortisol the next day. So now your body's trying to recover with worse blood sugar regulation, higher cortisol, more appetite disruption, less predictable energy. And you're wondering why you feel hungrier, more inflamed, more tired, and less recovered than you should. That's the part I think gets missed. People start looking for the next tool before they understand what might be driving the problem in the first place. A supplement, a peptide, a hormone protocol, something to try to feel better. And sometimes those tools are absolutely helpful and necessary. But before I decide what to add, I want to understand what's underneath the symptoms. Because if we skip that step, there's a good chance we're treating the downstream effects without ever addressing what's making someone feel bad in the first place. And sleep is a big part of that. Not just how long someone's sleeping, but how restorative their sleep is. Because sleeping and sleeping well are not the same thing. You can be in bed for 8 hours and still not be getting good sleep. Sleep apnea, frequent awakenings, alcohol, stress, hormone changes, certain medications even, all of those can affect how restorative sleep actually is. So when someone tells me that they're exhausted, I'm not just asking how many hours they're sleeping. I'm trying to understand what their sleep architecture actually looks like. Do they wake up rested? Do they wake up throughout the night? Do they snore? Have they been evaluated for sleep apnea? Because those answers often tell me more than another supplement recommendation ever could. So before we talked about peptides with this individual, before we talked about hormones or adding anything else, we talked about his sleep. We looked at what might be disrupting it. We looked at what his body may have been compensating for. And once we understood that piece, the rest of the conversation made a lot more sense. Not because sleep is the answer to everything, but because when someone feels exhausted, stuck, inflamed, or like their body isn't responding the way it used to, I don't want to skip past the foundation and go straight to the next intervention. Sometimes the most helpful thing isn't adding more. It's figuring out what's been subtly making everything harder in the first place. So if you're dealing with fatigue, poor recovery, weight gain, brain fog, or you feel like you're doing a lot of the right things, but still not getting the results you expect, Don't just ask what to add next. Take a closer look at your sleep. And if you enjoyed this kind of conversation where we look at the why behind symptoms, not just what to take for them, I'd love to have you subscribe. If you're in Arizona and looking for a physician who takes that same thoughtful whole person approach to hormones, metabolism, recovery, and longevity, you can learn more about Ember in the description below.